to be back with you. We have got a very special guest, Ben Carmona, who's with the Bernie Sanders campaign right here in Chicago. They're trying to have an event for Bernie and get that campaign going. The campaign has really taken off lately. Still's a long way to go to catch up to Hills, but nobody who's watching Bernie Sanders' performance so far can say anything but they are impressed. Welcome to the show, Ben. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm terrific. So you have an event coming up. Tell us about what's going on with that.
Well, I'd like to start off by saying that we are entirely grassroots. While we're directly affiliated with the Bernie 2016 campaign, and we're not an outlying support group, we have not been funded by them in any way so far. So I just wanted to be clear that where we are is a group of volunteers and a group of concerned citizens who are going to put together enough support and enough organizers to get together on July 29th and properly kick off Bernie Sanders' presidential campaign.
And may Bernie be here, or are there any plans for Bernie to be around the area?
You know what? Unfortunately not. Right now, thousands of homes are already registered, and what we plan on doing is having a telecast at about 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, where we will be able to see Bernie live. However, with the number of locations that we have, it was impossible to get Bernie to one spot and rally that way. So,
well, Bernie's always welcome on our show. You know that. Just put that out there. So it will be on. You're looking at something on Navy Pier.
You know what? We had looked at that. Unfortunately, due to some time constraints, we weren't able to set that up. What we are more focused on right now is a list of venues that can be accessed through Bernie Sanders' website. At this time, we've set up at pizzerias, we've set up at cafes, we've set up at some stadiums, some credit unions, we've set up at basically any progressive location that we can. Right now, where we're at is, like I said, the houses are full. So we are looking to expand. We're looking for somewhere that has a lot of overflow, and we found several locations. However, funding is our biggest issue right now.
And you think the Bernie Sanders campaign is going to kick in some dough?
You know what? Right now, it doesn't look like it. It looks like they have all their resources devoted to getting Bernie out there, devoted to getting Bernie on the road, and it looks like the resources are pretty tied up for the night of July 29th and moving on. On the 29th, we're going to be provided with materials, we're going to be provided with things from Bernie's campaign, but up until then, we are completely on our own.
And where do people, if people want to get tickets, how much do they cost, and where can they find them?
Well, you know what? Concerning the tickets, what we're doing right now is there's a few point people in each city. I'm one of those point people, and what we're doing is we're sort of like the superintendent for a lot of these places. And when you go through the resources on Bernie's website to locate an event, we'll then contact you and proceed from there.
Mm-hmm. And what's your pitch for Bernie Sanders? Why Bernie Sanders instead of Hillary Clinton?
Well, you know what? That's a very good question. I'm very glad you brought it up. I really want to start with a quote from Bernie, and it was one of the quotes that really got me onto his campaign. And he said, "Today, the United States is number one in billionaires, number one in corporate profits, number one in CEO salaries, number one in childhood poverty, and number one in income and wealth inequality in the industrialized world." And that's why I personally chose to pick up the mantle and fight for what we all know should be a better America. Now, I'm 25 years old. I'm married, and I have 2 children. And daily, my wife and I look at the possibility of upward mobility in the country, and we just don't find it. I think my peers can relate also when I say that we all feel pretty stuck in our jobs. We know that nothing phenomenal is happening right around the corner, and we're sick and tired of always having to live to pay bills. I mean, I have friends with hundreds of thousands of dollars of student debt, and I think we all do. It's almost becoming a cliche. With hundreds of thousands of dollars of student debt, and they don't even own a car, much less a mortgage, and they won't have an opportunity to get a mortgage. And I can sit here and you can blame on names, and you can blame groups, but it's action that's going to change anything. And when I have the opportunity to be able to help Bernie, and people ask me, why do you do it? I say, because I can. And when it comes to Hillary, and when it comes to everybody else, I can't. And that's the bottom line. And the larger that the billionaires get, the larger that the money gets, the larger the grassroots movements go. That's just the way it works. Because if the money was taken away from them, then the grassroots movement would be in their favor. However, the larger that the the money goes in their direction, the larger our grassroots movement is going to be. And the evidence in it is the fact that I joined. I joined the movement, and I've always been against politics. I've always felt that nobody at a presidential level honestly has our opinions at heart, but I am beyond a shadow of a doubt that Bernie Sanders will represent each and every one of us, regardless of your political affiliation.
And you're absolutely right, he will. And I know this for a fact because I lived in Vermont prior to moving to Chicago. And I lived there for 3 years. Bernie Sanders' office was right down the street from me. I'd seen Bernie on our major thoroughfare where his office was on Church Street. And he did represent everybody. I was very proud to have him represent us still. The latest Washington Post ABC poll has Hillary Clinton at 68%. Bernie is now at 16%, which is still pretty good considering everything just started. How do you bridge that gap? How's that going to happen?
Well, I really think that it's going to be getting out to the voters that we wouldn't really expect to vote. Let's take my wife, for instance. She wasn't born in this country, and she generally doesn't have very much interest in politics. And just from overhearing some of the stuff that we were working on, some of the videos that I had been watching with Bernie, and some of the data that I've been going through, she was able to immediately relate to that. And she said, wait, Ben, what's going on here? What is this? Who is this guy? And instantly, she was more than hooked. She became a believer. And I believe that is exactly where that gap is going to be bridged. There are thousands, if not millions of voters right now who haven't even registered, who haven't done anything before in the political process. And we got to understand that the Hillarys and the Republicans are counting on those people to not show up to the polls. That's what they're waiting for.
And what is your opinion of Hillary? Would you vote for her if Bernie Sanders decided not to run or dropped out or he lost the primary? What is your opinion of her?
You know what? It's a very good question.
Because I like both of them. I'm just saying, I love both Hillary and Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is closer to my heart, but I also love Hillary because, she's really served this country well. She's fought the right wing. So there are things I love about both of them. So what is your view of Hillary?
The last thing that you just said, she's fought the right wing, and that is where I can find some common ground to support Hillary. I feel, however, that she is not addressing the issues, and I think that we all know this. She's not addressing the issues the way that Bernie is. I think that Bernie is really hitting gut deep, and I think that if Bernie were not to make it to the primaries, I feel that Hillary would be, I hate to say that she's second best, but I will feel that given any other option, she would be able to put this country on a better course than it currently is right now.
I think Bernie should get more press, and it's not his fault. The media is being very remiss and rude as well by not giving him the proper media attention he deserves. He's at 16%. He's doing better than Jeb Bush polling-wise and Scott Walker right now. Yet he's not getting that kind of press and being talked about as someone who's a serious contender by some of the press, and it's about time they give him his due. What do you think? Should they be giving him a little more press?
They should, and that's where the gap, that the bridge between Hillary and Bernie is so critical, because that bridge is going to be crossed on social networks. Even now, if you see the way that Facebook is expanding its ad service, you see that the way that several of these social networks are expanding their ad service, and those ads are also being bought by political committees. They're also being bought by progressives, not just by the Bernie campaign. And I feel that while the main media outlets are crucial in increasing popularity for any candidate, I do feel that if we take the social networks, and I feel that the social networks will organically produce enough popularity for Bernie if the grassroots members really dig deep, if the grassroots members really fight for a cause, and if we really join together and kick off this progressive movement properly.
Sounds terrific. Final question. Where can people reach you again? We only got a couple seconds, but how can people get tickets to reach you?
Sure, they can find us on Facebook at Chicago for Bernie. The best place to do it would be on Twitter. That's at Bernie Kickoff. And we have a link to our donation site right on the Twitter. And I believe we have some links over there on our Facebook. Again, the Facebook's Chicago for Bernie, and Twitter is at Bernie Kickoff.
Thank you, Ben Carboni, a good spokesperson. Bernie's lucky to have you, and we're lucky to have Bernie representing this country. Thanks a lot, and have a great day.
You too. Thank you, Wayne.
This is Wayne Besen for the Wayne Besen Show, and I will be back in a moment.